Hello and welcome to Stress Eating, all about comfort food. And there's a little tagline here that says, bring out your chocolate. And that is because we normally use handout chocolate to everyone when we're doing this live presentation. But what I want you to do is go ahead and find like your favorite snack and have it by you. So I'll give you a few minutes to have your snack by you if you don't already.
Hi, Stace. Sorry I was late.
That's okay.
New computer, it won't let me in.
Sure. No, that is just fine. Do you have a snack with you?
Not really.
Okay. Do you have water or?
Yep, I got water.
Okay. Well, you can definitely do this with water, but yeah, so as we go through this, our goal is to just really have the awareness of what is happening within us when we actually uh, intake food or water or a drink into our body. So
Okay.
I will begin. Okay, so the reason why we want to talk about stress eating is because oftentimes we can eat when we're stressed, right? And some of the reasons why is because food can be very comforting, kind of brings us back to a place long ago that was very comfortable and elicit those memories. And then food can oftentimes replace other stress management techniques. So we'd mentioned before, way back in December, when we talked about stress as fight or flight, it's meant for you to do something. Well, eating is doing something. It's a physical thing that can actually help you release that cortisol in your body. Now, is that a good thing? Maybe. Can that be a bad thing? Of course. So not putting any judgment on it, but it depends on, and it's all about awareness. Like, is that working for you? What are you eating when you're stressed? Do you overeat? And, kind of reflecting on all of those questions. Food also replaces other stress management techniques, and you can choose oftentimes the lesser of two evils. So it's better to eat than to smoke or use drugs or whatever else can help you that maybe isn't as healthy for you as it relates to managing stress. Or there's no why. So you just eat and you don't even notice, and you're just so stressed you're not even focused on what you're doing, and you eat and only notice when the pint of ice cream is gone or the bag of chips or whatever it is you're eating is gone. So we want to kind of bring in that mindfulness in that moment that you're eating. And so if you don't have anything close to you, or if you want to try this with like a Dove chocolate, that's about a perfect thing to use this to just kind of experiment with. But so mindfulness is really just taking the time to just be in the moment, be in that moment of eating. You're eating your meal, you're eating your snack, and you're just breathing and taking in that time and those nutrients. Can be very, very empowering to do that. Now I'll explain why. So what is mindfulness? It's really an astute, non-judgmental awareness of the present moment. Like you're eating and you're eating and you're tasting your food. And mindfulness can also reduce anxiety by focusing on the present moment, not the past or the future. Usually when we're so focused on the past, sometimes that can create some depression. And if we're so focused on the future, it can create anxiety. And so this is the only moment we have. Let's enjoy your food and eat it. So how can we incorporate mindfulness in managing stress eating? It definitely can be too. Remember how I said eating is physical, and we can actually release the cortisol hormone that gets released when we're stressed out. And since eating is a physical thing, then we can incorporate the two and mash them together. So let's kind of think about comfort foods. So remember I mentioned that comfort foods are comfort because sometimes they bring us back emotionally back to the past. And I have this picture of Ratatouille. It's a movie. If you haven't seen it, there is a scene in there where there's a food critic that comes to a restaurant, and he at one point gave it a really bad review, and the review was so bad that it brought the restaurant from 5 stars or 4 stars or 5 stars down to 4 stars. And so he was really proud of himself that he was able to be this great food critic and put this restaurant down. And then the restaurant started getting really popular, and he couldn't believe it. Like, how are they popular when I said it wasn't a bad restaurant? So he went in and he was sitting there and he just said, you know what, give me the chef's best dish. I don't care what it is. So the chef prepared ratatouille for him, which is something that most people don't really think of as fine dining. And so he sat down on the chair and he was like, okay, this is bizarre. You know, why would you feed me ratatouille? And so he looked at it, and then he took the first bite, and then the movie then spans to his eyes get really big, and they go in, and it just kind of rumbles back into his past. And it shows him he fell off his bike and he walks in the house, and his mom gives him a hug and brings him to the kitchen table, and there's ratatouille. And um, it takes him right back to that time. And then now you're back in the present time, and he's sitting there and he gets a big smile on his face, and he's kind of a grumpy old man. He gets a big smile on his face and he just really eats the ratatouille up, and he enjoys it. And then the restaurant gets its 5 stars and whatnot. But it really drives that moment home of when you taste food and what can happen into the brain and into your mind. And so of course food can be very, very comforting. uh, and then really looking at how we can bridge that comfort food, stress eating into mindful eating. um, and how can we eat comfort foods in a mindful way? So you want to bring your thoughts into the present, into this moment. But if it was a comfort, also connecting those two. So kind of thinking about why it's such a comfort, and what happened. And because it's always good to have those good loving memories as well as it relates to that food. So, but how can we bring, and that's what we're going to really talk about today, is when we're sitting eating a meal, what are you doing? Are you on your phone? Are you watching television? Are you reading the newspaper or a book? Or how can you be really present at the table, eating your food, conversing with other people, and just really enjoying a meal or a snack? So how can we bring these thoughts into the present? So let's practice. So if you haven't grabbed a snack, go ahead and grab one. Otherwise, you can just imagine um, eating a piece of Dove chocolate, or just imagine yourself eating your favorite snack. And so it's very, very basic. What you want to do is you really want to just look. We're going to use all of our senses. So we're just going to really look at the food. So if you have a meal in front of you, you're just really focused on just looking at the textures, looking at the colors, and just really looking at it, and giving thanks for it, being grateful to be able to eat and have a meal in front of you. um, and just allowing yourself some space between taking that first bite. And then it's also becoming aware of the moment and what's happening in around you and within you. Like, are you just really wanting to grab that fork and start eating? And so that's really important, to just be aware and just notice those times. And then, so the next thing is, watching yourself picking up the fork or the spoon, or if you're going to eat with your fingers, watching yourself pick up the food. And then you're just going to smell the food. So we're not only smelling it, but we're touching the food now, or touching the fork, and just noticing that act of moving the fork up to your face, moving your hands up to your face, so you can like really smell the food. You can even close your eyes and just smell and just notice what's going on within you. And does it make your stomach growl? Does it make you just really want to bite into that food? And just smell it. Just take a moment and smell the food. And then you want to take your first bite. So, bite into the food, kind of just using your sense of hearing, and is it crunchy or soft? And just listen to yourself crunching. And then as you're moving it around your tongue, try not to chew it too much, especially that first bite, and just really taste your food. Oftentimes, we don't really get the full flavor of our food because we have taste buds in the front of our mouth, the sides, in the middle, in the back of our tongue. And oftentimes we chew way in the back, and then we swallow without even thinking about it, without even tasting our food. So that's kind of that next step, to really, really taste your food. And then with each bite, just kind of not only doing the same thing with each, you've looked at it, kind of just smell it, and really taste your food, and notice when, whatever it is, if it's a meal and you're eating, eating one thing, just kind of notice when the flavor kind of wanes, or just gets muted a little bit. That's really your body's way of telling you that you've had enough of that nutrient. So a good example would be if you're eating maybe um, a, a meal where you have several courses. So maybe the first one is soup, and you're really super hungry, so you take that moment, and the soup is a perfect temperature, and you take that first bite, and it's just explosion in your mouth. It tastes so good. You might finish all your soup, you might not, because the salad comes. And then now it's a whole new taste explosion, because it's different nutrients, it's different textures, it's different flavors. And then that tastes really good. You might finish your salad, you might not, and you're still hungry because you just had soup and salad. And the entree comes, and the same thing. You'll notice that because it's different nutrients, because it's different tastes and textures, kind of that explosion again. But if you really pay attention with the soup and salad and entree, those flavors will mute a little bit, will kind of wane and kind of not taste as good as that first bite. It's kind of a really cool awareness sensation. So now you're pretty full, right? You've had soup and salad and entree, but then what comes next? Dessert. And even though you're kind of full, it's dessert, so you're going to eat it. And the same thing happens. You take the first bite, an explosion in your mouth. And so your body, after maybe 5 or 7 bites of a certain nutrient, your body will say, oh, I've had enough of this. So that's why the flavor palette kind of gets a little bit less. So it's kind of an interesting thing. And you'll notice this a lot with kids, where they'll eat a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of that, and they might walk away from the table because they're full. And you might say, okay, finish your meal. And they're like, I'm full, and it doesn't taste as good anymore. And so kids are really, really good at picking up on, they're good at being mindful and in the moment, and picking up on these things that we have long forgotten, being adults and having things to do. We don't have time to sit and eat. And so I next time, recommend just taking some time to eat a meal. Oftentimes it'll take like 7 minutes to eat a meal. But it really takes your stomach 20 minutes in order for your stomach to tell your brain that you've had enough and you're full. And so oftentimes, if we're slowing down eating, we'll be able to transmit those sensations and that feeling of fullness or satiety that much faster if we eat slower. So if you eat really fast, then you're still kind of hungry because your brain hasn't learned that you've even eaten yet, and you could overeat. So slowing down the pace of eating is so very important. And I hear this all the time, I don't have 20 minutes to eat, I only have 10, at work or for break time or whatever that is, then I would recommend really focusing on that first bite and just letting that food just sit in your mouth for just a little bit before you take another bite. And or the first 3 bites. Just first 3 bites, just noticing, like if you're eating a sandwich, taking the first bite, putting it down. If you're eating something with a fork, putting the fork down, eating everything. And just notice, are you done with the bite in your mouth before you grab another bite? Maybe practicing that, like making sure your mouth is completely empty. Watch if you are kind of shoveling it in, or taking a break in between bites, or noticing when you're picking up the fork the next. And the next thing, or another thought, is focusing on what you're drinking, and doing the same thing, like looking at it, smelling it, tasting it, and just noticing how, like if you're drinking water, how that feels as it goes down into your stomach and nourishes you. And so using Dove is a perfect food to be able to do this practice with, because when we look at it, it's shiny and it has writing on it, and it's really pretty. It can be red or blue or yellow or whatever color it is. And then when you flip it over and open it, it makes noise. So you're like listening to the food. And then you open it up a little bit, you take maybe a fourth of a bite of it, wrap it back up, put it off to the side, and just taste it, and just notice where on your tongue do you actually taste the chocolate. And then just allow yourself to close your eyes, take some deep breaths while you're eating that fourth of a Dove. And then when you're done with that, waiting. And usually we have people wait, we finish the presentation, and then I'll ask them, do you want to have more of the chocolate? And most people will say, you know what, I usually eat like 7 of these right in a row, but I have only had a fourth of one and I'm satisfied now. So it's kind of a really cool aha moment, that if you take the time and just enjoy and just really taste your food, you'll notice that you'll need a lot less. You'll be more satisfied. So it's a really cool thing. And then making sure that you smell it before you take that bite, of course. And then, so what are the core features of mindful eating? Well, there's several. So we definitely slow down and we use all of our senses. So we're touching the food, we're smelling, we're looking, we're tasting, all of our senses. And then we're really eliminating distractions, like turning the TV off, maybe really making some nice ambiance, like some candles, or just having conversation with your family, and just eliminating those distractions. I have boys that will be watching TV, and they'll have popcorn, and they'll be eating their popcorn and not even realizing it, and their popcorn's gone, and they'll look around going, hey, who ate my popcorn? Well, you didn't even realize you were eating your popcorn because you were so distracted by what you were watching on, like, a movie. And so it's kind of that phenomenon that we can't, it's hard to do 2 things at once. So really trying to eliminate those distractions. And then also a core feature is we pay attention to body cues. So when does it not taste as good? Or I've had people bring in their favorite snack to this mindfulness eating presentation. While they're eating it, they've noticed for the first time that they really don't like it. Like, yeah, that is huge. They've been eating the snacks so fast, it's just kind of their go-to, and now they're like, I really don't even like the taste of this. So we're paying attention to those body cues. And then we kind of get down to it. There's really no restrictions. There's no good or bad foods. There's only awareness. So we might be aware that, like the taste of something, or you might be aware that, that you get a headache or some joint pain, or whatever it is with that food, maybe have a allergic reaction or an adverse reaction to a food. And so really no restrictions, just awareness. And then with more awareness, then you can make more choices to say, okay, well, I get some arthritis when I eat that, and I don't want arthritis, so I'm not going to eat it. And then, so we do know we tend to eat less, greater satisfaction, and better balance. And then that's the ultimate goal as it relates to that, that food and overall life balance. So then we want to look at these internal versus external locus of control. And so mindfulness really is the intentional awareness within internal locus of control. And then mindlessness is disconnected and ruled by external forces. And I always use this example. Um, so my sister has been in the hospital quite a few times for some, mental health issues. And, I don't hear from my parents a lot, but so when they call, it tends to be about, about my sister. And so for a long time, they would call and almost right away, I'd end up in the kitchen and not even realize it. And I would grab like carrots and I'd start eating carrots. And all of a sudden my mom would go, "Oh, you're crunching." I'm like, "Oh, what? How did I even get in the kitchen? And why am I eating? I'm not even hungry." And it was that stress that was like, I just needed to eat and chew on something. And so it was great awareness to say, okay, when my mom calls, do I really want to be eating if I'm not hungry? No. And I want to be focused on what she's saying and I want to, have that support and be there for her. So then I decided I'm going to go to kind of like a non-eating place. So either the bathroom or bedroom, or if it's nice outside, just go sit on the porch outside and just be in that moment. And so it was definitely that eating, when I was eating, when the phone would ring, was ruled by external forces. So I had to kind of find that internal locus of control and that awareness to find out, why am I eating in this moment? And it's always good awareness. So we're going to do the bananas experiment. So what I want you to do is sit back and look at this banana for a second. And now what I want you to do is close your eyes and I want you to think of your favorite vacation spot and for just 15 seconds. And then while you're thinking about the first 15 or about your favorite vacation spot, do not think about bananas. So do not think about bananas starting now. Okay, did you think about bananas? Uh, yep, most of the time people are like, you told me not to think about bananas. And so I thought about bananas the whole time. I was on the beach and the dolphins were bananas and bananas were walking on the beach and I saw banana trees. So all we think about is bananas when we're told not to. And so that is the same thing as it relates to why diets don't work. It's a cycle. So we often are told don't eat this and don't eat bread and don't eat. So that's all we think about is what we're not supposed to. So oftentimes we feel like we need to go on a diet and then we feel helpless and we think that the diet is the only way and you believe someone else knows what I need, this trendy diet or this new and upcoming thing that everyone's trying. And then oftentimes we start a diet restriction, like don't have this, don't have that. And then sometimes we don't eat enough because we're on a diet. And then the survival response kicks in where our metabolism slows down, our nutrient absorption decreases, and our mind is preoccupied with food because we're starving, we're so hungry. And then we exert our willpower and we break our diet. And then we have that dichotomous thinking, all or nothing. Well, since I ate something that I wasn't supposed to, that I was told don't do, then I might as well just eat everything. And then we binge, overeat, and then we feel what we feel. And oftentimes it's bad. We feel fat, angry, fearful, ashamed, guilty, and all of those things. And we blame ourselves and we give up and we feel helpless. And the cycle continues. So diets don't work. What does work is mindful eating. So dieting tends to be a temporary fix. It has rapid weight loss and it's focused on weight, so that darn number on the scale. And sometimes we're just so focused on that. And remembering that that number on the scale is just your relationship to gravity here on Earth. And it doesn't tell you anything else but that. Like it doesn't measure your character or your beauty or your personality, nothing. So we kind of want to get away from that number and focus on other things. So mindful eating can last a lifetime. Definitely a slower weight loss, which is ideal for our metabolism and our body and our health. And it really focuses on the relationship with food, overall balance and healthy lifestyle habits. Because can you have a relationship with food? That's the big question. And no, the answer is no. Food cannot love you back. It cannot, you cannot have a relationship with food. However, what that means is just internally in yourself, like what overeating means, under eating, where that fits in, and it's all about that awareness. I'm eating because I'm hungry. I'm eating because, and we'll go through that in a moment. And so it really helps address that underlying reason for unhealthy behaviors. Are you stressed? Are you bored? Are you fatigued? Do you have anxiety? Is it an external locus of control? What's going on? So we really are looking for that awareness of that underlying reason. So what are the results of mindful eating? We know that they reduce the number of unnecessary eating events. So we're not eating because we're not hungry. So that's a good thing. And then it reduced the number of skip meals because we have that awareness, like my body needs the nutrients, it needs sustenance. So we actually eat a meal. And then we know the steady weight loss, slow and steady weight loss, if that's your goal. So have you ever felt yourself feeling stressed, eating an entire pizza or a pint of ice cream, bag of cookies, fill in the blank, then feeling guilty, putting on weight, feeling stressed because of it, then eating an entire pizza again? So that is just that cycle that, of what happens. And so our ultimate goal is to break that cycle somewhere by mindful eating. So how can we manage stress to manage our weight? So the awareness, asking yourself questions. Am I hungry or stressed? Dealing with that root cause. So I really like the HALT, and that HALT is HALTT. So are you hungry, angry, lonely, thirsty, tired? Those tend to be all the reasons why we eat. So hungry, angry, or any emotion there. It could be sad, it could be happy. We eat to celebrate. Lonely, we eat because we're feeling alone. We eat because we're tired and thirsty, and thirsty. So oftentimes there's time where I'm like, boy, I'm hungry, so I'll eat. And then I'm still hungry, so I eat more. And then I'm still hungry and I eat more. And then I realize, oh my gosh, I haven't drank any water today. I'm thirsty, so I'll grab a big glass of water, drink it down, and then I'm so full because I overate. And oh gosh, oh, I should have drank something first before I ate, and now I'm stuffed. I'm so full. So thirst can definitely cause you to feel hungry when you don't need food, when you need to drink water. So really thinking about and dealing with that root cause. So exercise is a great way to deal with stress because that cortisol is released. And remember, we need to do something physical oftentimes. So going for a walk, punching a pillow, screaming into a pillow, talking it out, getting some exercise is really a good thing. Getting enough sleep. And we'll talk a lot about this as it relates to how our brain functions. And so if you tend to get hungry before bedtime, my recommendation is don't eat, because what is happening is your brain is saying, I'm tired, I need to get sleep, but you're not going to sleep. So if you're not going to go to sleep, I need energy. So give me food. So then it sends out hunger signals, and then it says, feed me, feed me, feed me. And by that time, it doesn't care what you get in. It just wants quick sugar, quick energy. And we see this all the time in college students who are cramming all night for finals, and they grab the Doritos and the Oreos and things that aren't the healthiest for them, but the brain just needs that quick energy. So if it's late and it's past your bedtime and you're hungry, just go to bed. If it's a case where you haven't eaten, and if you go to sleep hungry and you won't be able to sleep, that's something different. So definitely knowing what works for you and what doesn't, and maybe having a healthy snack before, a snack that's not inflammatory before you go to sleep. And then being consistent with your meal pattern, your body will get used to eating at certain times. times in the day. And I know there's a lot of talk about intermittent fasting, and so it's something, if that will help you be more consistent with your meal pattern, because you can only eat within a certain parameter of time, like 10 to 6, so 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and nothing before, nothing after that. Sometimes that can help people be more consistent, because they will wake up and they'll be hungry by 10 o'clock instead of being full because they ate too late at night, and then they don't eat until like noon or 1, and then kind of that cycle. So um, just kind of something to think about to really get consistent in your meal pattern. And then avoiding alcohol and caffeine, both can either make you overeat or undereat. So thinking in terms of that awareness, how do they affect you as it relates to your eating patterns? And both of them can cause, like alcohol is a depressant, and caffeine can cause some excitability and can keep you up later than you expected or wanted to. And so that can disrupt not only stress, but also how much or how little you eat. And then create a support network. Always very good to have somebody to exercise with, or eat with, or just have somebody to talk to, or exercise with. And then learn more about successful and healthy stress management techniques. Always a good thing. Breathing, um, making sure you're sleeping, meditating, going through some of these nice calm apps or headspace apps. There's a lot of different things out there that can help. So if you were working on a snack, or if you were eating a snack and you ate a bite and just tasted it, now is the time. Or if you were eating Dove or you want to try it with Dove, so it's about 15 minutes later, that's a big question. Do you want the rest of it? And it's okay if you do or don't. Oftentimes, there will be people who will say, "Oh, yeah, I want the rest of my Dove," or "I want another bite," or "I want to throw the Dove away," or "I want to save it for later." So no judgment here. If you save it for later, just don't put it in your pocket because it'll melt. If you want to throw it away, fine, fine. If you want to eat it right now, just eat it mindfully. That is all. So any questions that you have? Or answer that question, do you want to eat the rest of your snack? What do you think, Anne?